Hello, everyone, and welcome into the seventh episode of Jack's Mailbag, the series where I answer your Gamecock baseball questions. If you have a question you want answered on next week's episode, be sure to drop a comment on this YouTube video below, or I'll also have a post on the Gamecock Central Insiders Forum where you can drop any of your questions below in that thread. I'm also going to be answering some men's basketball questions this week with the postseason underway for South Carolina. So, without further ado, let's get into our first question from Anson Cock, who asks, "Hi, Jack. I realize that you might not have info to release yet, but do you think the transfer portal contacting has begun yet? Also, any insights you can share regarding the 25 class recruiting? Are we still looking to recruit one or two more for that class?" So, yeah, first off, the transfer portal for men's basketball with the NCAA has already opened, and you've already, there's already been guys that have entered the portal and made that decision, and they're allowed to. With South Carolina, obviously, no one has entered the portal, and I don't see why they would, considering the what's at stake for the Gamecocks moving forward. In regards to maybe like who they're going to contact and get, we have no info on that right now. I think Lamont Paris is more worried about making a run in March Madness, which we'll get into a question about that later. But right now, just the focus is on the games right now, and eventually the transfer portal will become the main thing to worry about after the season ends. And then with the 2025 recruiting class, you've got guys like Eli Ellis and Hayden Simeon, and with those guys, those are your two players for that class, and I don't expect them to add anyone else right now. That could always change. It also depends on how many roster spots they're going to have open and stuff with scholarships and whatnot. They could always maybe add a walk on or something, but for right now, that seems to be it for that year's class. Next question comes from Love My Gamecocks, who asks, "Any idea on Eli Jersen's decision to return next year or enter the MLB draft, since he'll be 21 before the deadline? He would have been one. He would have been one of our weekend starters this year, if not for the UCL tear from last spring." So with him, I wonder. I think the smart decision would be to come back next year, just because he hasn't pitched since the 2023 season, before he got Tommy John surgery, and I think. Look, I know he's got really good stuff, and I think he needs a year to kind of prove that he can pitch as maybe like a Friday night starter for at the college level. But we'll see what happens with that. And then just with the MLB draft, he could go. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but do I think he should go? I don't think so. I think it just benefits him for being in college for another year, and like who knows what his draft stock looks like. Yeah, he'll probably get drafted since there's so many rounds in the MLB draft. I know they cut back on it a little bit, but he should. He probably could get drafted if he wanted to, but I don't know. He'll be a late round pick if anything, in my opinion. But I think if he stays in college, has a good season, he could definitely be a much higher pick. Next question comes from Hampton Rhodes, who asks, "Any insight to pitching Roman Kimble in relief Saturday and starting good last Sunday? Are we still slow walking Kimble?" So Mark Kingston spoke a little bit about this situation, and not in tremendous detail or anything, but with this situation, I think the biggest issue right now is Roman Kimble's command is a little shaky at times, and I think that's part of why you're not seeing him start right now. He's walked a lot of batters and stuff. Put it this way, through this weekend, he's had 15 strikeouts to 9 walks, and that's you got to bring those walks down a little bit, in my opinion. And I think his confidence is also something that you need to build up over time. And so I think right now you put him in the bullpen, get him some innings, and then look, if injuries happen or he's just pitching really well, you can always throw him back in the rotation, right? And I think Ty Good has really shown, at least out of the bullpen and in one start, that he's been a really good pickup out of the transfer portal for South Carolina. But we'll see what happens. I think South Carolina has TBA again for today's game versus Ole Miss, and we'll see what happens. But I would be surprised if Good is not starting on the mound today. Next question comes from MSH1958, who asks, do you have any idea whether or when Matthew Becker will get back in the weekend rotation? So right now he's pitching out of the bullpen, and I saw him throw on Tuesday against Georgia State in North Augusta, and I thought he pitched really well. Goes an inning and a third, doesn't give up a run or anything. I thought he pitched really well, and I think that's kind of his spot right now, right? I think heading into the season, he was definitely someone that I thought was going to be in the starting rotation, maybe on that Saturday or Sunday spot. But of course, he got a little hurt during one of the final scrimmages before opening day, and that kind of threw a wrench in those plans for the moment. And he's made one start this season. I think he pitched a one inning against Davidson a few weeks ago, and looked a little shaky out there. But I think he's still got such good stuff that if you need him to make a start or something, he's more than capable of doing it. He's one of the few guys with a ton of experience on this pitching staff, and yeah, I mean, right now, you like the spot that he's in with him, Chris Veach, and Garrett Gainey in the bullpen as some of the better pitchers, out there. Next question comes from Flex Capacitator, who asks, heard anything about CMB's draft situation? He's starting to appear fairly high in some mocks. So yeah, I do have an update on this. I had to change, my original answer to this question, but um, what happened was after Thursday's win in the SEC tournament over Arkansas, one of the reporters, Jordan Kay from the State newspaper, he asked CMB or Colin Murray Boyles about his plans for next year, and it seems like CMB is going to be coming back next year. And honestly, I think that's a really good decision. He's talked a little bit more about it, and I think the big thing is that he wants a full year under his belt. Because he had mono and stuff, and that kind of threw things off. And he doesn't feel like it's the right time to leave college yet. And honestly, it seems like a good decision, right? Because now if he's really back for his sophomore season, he can really step into his own and become the superstar on this team. And I think that's a role that he would definitely thrive in. And not only that, I mean, look, with the news of Lamont Paris being locked into an extension until 2030, I mean, you've got a real chance to be good again next year with your South Carolina in men's basketball, and try to make it back to the NCAA tournament. And at the top of that, I mean, you need guys that are going to be the glue of the team. And look, you're losing Talon Cooper, BJ Mack, Stephen Clark. There's always the potential you could lose Michi Johnson as well, but personally, I think he's going to stay. But you're losing some of those veteran guys, and Colin, has started a good bit this year after mono and working his way back, and he's looked really good all season. And he had a tough game against Auburn the other day in the SEC tournament, which South Carolina lost by 31 points. But it happens, and I think he's going to be a real big piece of what this program's future looks like. Next question comes from 1M Creek Cock, who asks, is there a running up-to-date statistics link, batting averages, ERAs, etc., for Gamecock baseball? If so, where? If not, is this a possibility? Baseball is a numbers game. Well, you're definitely right about that. Baseball is certainly a numbers game. And there is a stat or a link to a stat sheet of all the stats from the players. Basically, what I do is just go on Google and type in 2024 South Carolina baseball cumulative statistics, and that will give you all the stats you need with pitching, offense, and I believe defense as well. So that is the go-to link, and it's actually on the team's website. So yep, that is a really good tool that I like to use for anytime I need any baseball specific statistics. Next question comes from Major Rooster, who asks, hi Jack, where can I get a camo baseball hat like our guys wear during some games? It is camo, of course, with a black state symbol on the back. Cannot seem to find it anywhere. Yeah, that hat's pretty sweet, right? I love that's honestly Troop Tuesdays. I personally, I'm a big fan of the Yankee Grays for this baseball team. And I'm a diehard Yankee fan, so that's probably why. But if I had to pick second best uniforms on this, for the South Carolina baseball team, I like the camo. I think it's a cool look. I like how they added the batting helmets this year in that all camo, and it looks really sick. Now, as to where you can find these hats, I know they've really been hard to find, and I don't think they sell them at Founders Park or anything. But if you're going to take a look anywhere, I would have to say, and it's not, I'm not saying it's there or anything. This is just probably where it could be. Look at like Adam's bookstore or something in Columbia. I feel like that's probably your best bet. But then again, I don't know. I don't know why, the baseball team doesn't sell these hats in stores and stuff. I mean, they would fly off the shelves, right? You have at least 3 or 4 different awesome hats with the interlocking SC or other logos like that. That would be so cool. What the players wear, and I know a lot of people were asking about those camo hats last year when Troop Tuesday became a real big thing. So, good question, and hopefully you're able to find them. So, final question of the day comes from his underscore Zekeness, who asks, "Do you think men's basketball can make the Elite Eight?" This is an interesting question, and I'm glad we're going to end on this one. I think as long as they don't play Auburn, I think they're going to potentially win a game or two. No, I'm joking, but Auburn. Seriously, let's give credit where it's due. Since we really haven't talked about it much yet, Auburn. That was insane to see how good they played in a rematch with South Carolina, because coming into that game after South Carolina had beat Arkansas, you're like, okay, maybe this is the time where South Carolina can finally get over that hump and continue to make a run in the SEC tournament. And it's just it just didn't happen, right? You like, I think a lot of people, including myself, did not believe that Auburn was going to be able to shoot and play as well as it did, like in the first matchup. But I mean, Auburn is just really good. I don't know what it is, but South Carolina is just not a good matchup for that team. It's the physicality, the way Auburn shoots, just a lot of different things that, that's the toughest team South Carolina's played all year, in my opinion. Now, in regards to can South Carolina make the Elite Eight? It's all things are possible, right? NCAA tournament, who would have thought 2017 that South Carolina men's basketball would make it to the Final Four? Not a lot of people. And with this team, I think it all depends on matchups, right? Because with the NCAA tournament, it's all just a crapshoot. You don't know who you're playing until Selection Sunday, which is going on later tonight at 6 p.m. And we'll learn who South Carolina will be playing in the round of 64 in March Madness. But I think it all depends on where they're going to be and all that stuff. They could go to Spokane, in Washington, which is across the country, and that's a lot of travel. And who knows? I mean, that's where the projections have them right now. And again, nothing is confirmed, nothing's official till the real thing comes out at 6 o'clock, and we'll find it out. But I do think anything's possible. However, I think more realistically, I just the way they played in the SEC tournament wasn't great. They got to be able to shoot. If they're not able to shoot, they could easily be a round of 64 exit, first round exit. But a little more realistically, I do think they get through the first round and make it to the round of 32. And from there, I mean, who knows who they play? They're going to probably be playing a higher seed, maybe. Who knows? And we'll see what happens. But I do think I'll give them like a 50-50 chance to make it to the second weekend. And from there, who knows? It's it's anyone's game. But that's the beauty of March Madness, right? Anything's possible, and we see Cinderella stories almost all the time now. So maybe South Carolina can continue its magical season and make a big run. But anyway, that is going to do it for this week's episode of Jack's Mailbag. If you have a question that you want answered on next week's episode, be sure to drop it in the comment section below on this YouTube video, or like I said before, I'll have a post on the Gamecock Central Insiders Forum where you can drop all your questions. And also, happy St. Patrick's Day for all those celebrating. Be safe out there, and be sure to stay tuned into GamecockCentral.com as we learn the fate of where South Carolina will be playing in this year's NCAA tournament. Have a good one, guys.